You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your charming and handsome host, and with me is my partner,
Rocco. He still thinks he's charming and handsome. Somebody, please email him. Email me, ROCCOP@ZENTEKconsultants.net. Somebody please tell me he's not charming and handsome, and I will kindly forward it to him.
Hold on, I need to send an email. I'll be right back. All right, see? You see what I put up with, folks? And that's why I make Rocco suffer through the engineering joke of the week. All right, Rocco, as payment for your mocking me, what did the electrical engineer say when he got shocked?
I don't know. What did he say?
He said, "That hurts." Huh? I love these terrible jokes. They make me laugh. All right, so what are we... See, that was good. You're still laughing. What are we talking about today? We're talking about construction estimating and what are the best tools. That's our topic for today. So, all right, so look, folks, construction work, it depends on estimating, right? Whether you're a GC trying to do a rough order magnitude estimate, right? Or a supplier needing, quantity takeoff to price off of, or an installer, right? Looking for some accurate labor and equipment costs. It's all about the estimating. Now, the construction world has an absolute ton of tools to handle both quantity takeoff and estimating. And no, they are not the same thing. And we'll talk about that on today's show. What I want to do, though, is take a look at kind of the pros and cons of the big name players in this space and, where the industry is leaning and hopefully give our listeners an idea of what they should be looking at in their own companies, right? And in the front half of the podcast here today, I kind of want to talk about general processes, right? And who's doing what. And then we'll talk about the specific programs and whatnot in the second half. So Rocco, let's start with the user base. I mean, have you been seeing a change or an increased interest, I guess, from construction people who are, moving to software-based estimating versus the old pen and paper methods?
Oh, yeah. It's something that we deal with every day. And it's, you don't find your large firms that are still using pen and paper, but there's plenty of and pen and paper highlighters. There are still plenty of folks out there who are using that method, and they realize that that they're quote unquote the dinosaurs out there, and that they need to make a change. But it's I want to say it's almost a weekly kind of discussion where people realize that either they're way far behind in the technology, or even what they have is they're hardly hitting the surface of the capabilities that are built within the software that they already own, and that they really need to step up their game and start using that functionality. Yeah,
it's all about pulling up efficiency and speed and accuracy. So, all right, so let's kind of start the tech side of the discussion by clearing up what I said earlier, right? That QTO, quantity takeoff, and estimating are not the same things. And it is important that we all understand the difference, because I feel that a lot of the software developers out there don't. And I get that these features go hand in hand, a lot of the time. But the focus and the output of each of these is very distinct. All right, so let's start with QTO. This is the process of calculating quantities, as the name implies, right? Quantity takeoff. It's about getting, linear footage and areas and volumes and counts of physical objects on your job. QTO has nothing to do with costs, right? Though it is usually the basis for cost estimating. QTO is a really important tool for manufacturers and procurement folks and installers who need to know exactly how much material they're going to need to complete a job, and how many pieces and components they'll have to put together to get those materials built and delivered and so on. And QTO, it can also be a very important tool for GCs and developers in helping to establish, schedules of delivery and storage needs for materials, and even, a ROM per square foot type of cost. Estimating, right? Just true estimating, on the other hand, is the act of taking that QTO and starting to apply actual costs to every aspect of that takeoff, right? Material prices and shipping and handling and labor and installation equipment and taxes and overtime and 100 of other items that all need to be incorporated into an estimate. Yes, you need some level of QTO done in order to develop an estimate, but they're distinct items, all right? And not all of us listening need to, the same things, or even if we do, right? We're usually not working it at the same level of detail as we go from company to company. Take a length of duct as a basic example, right? The fabricator, he needs to know the length and the diameter and the gauge of steel so he can calculate how many pieces he can make from whatever stock width he has in. Labor costs and such, that means nothing to them. An HVA installer, on the other hand, he just wants to know how much duct does he need to order with some waste built in, right? And then they want very detailed estimates on how many screws, how much duct tape, how many man hours, right? What equipment do I have to rent to complete the job, right? Whereas, the GC, he just wants a number on how many lengths of duct so he knows where he can store it. And then he just wants a flat fee from the installer on what they're charging him. All right. So you see, all of us need different things, right? And I think that's why it's important to understand that difference between, QTO and estimating. They go together, but they're not the same. So Rocco, I know that the construction folks, right, and most of the people listening here know that difference, and they certainly don't need us to lecture them. But a lot of the time, this software, this tech, is purchased by IT or financial people in these firms. Do you find that those people always understand the distinction between QTO and estimating, or do you find yourself needing to explain it to them?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the size of the firm and who we're dealing with. But a lot of times I think I find that the end decisions are not driven by IT. It's the folks who are in the day-to-day trenches and their management that make those decisions. As far as what direction to go in. So. But it all depends. Yeah, it definitely depends on the size of the firm.
Okay. All right. So I think the other big consideration that I always have to point out to people when we're in meetings about these QTO estimating systems is determining what their final output needs are and the why of those needs. And what I mean by that, in just about every conversation that I have in this arena, the first answer I almost always get is, I want it to output to an Excel file. And when I ask why, the answer is usually something along the lines of, well, I need the Excel file, so I have to use formulas and calculate costs and totals. And look, don't get me wrong. I am not mocking anyone here, right? We all default to the tools that we're used to. But the basic purpose of this type of software is to do all of those formulas and totals and calculations for you, right? Without having to export it to a workbook where you have to do more manual work. At the very least, you'll want to at least explore and look at ways of automating and integrating with Excel if you have to work that way, right? A lot of us, we have extensive processes for Excel that we can't get away from. I understand that. There are, companies out there who have some amazingly complex spreadsheets, right, that they've spent decades developing and integrating with, price databases and Salesforce and so on. And I get you can't just drop those. But even so, there are ways to automate the takeoff, right, so that it reads the values directly to your spreadsheet so that you don't have to manually, read the numbers, type them into the Excel spreadsheet in order to calculate all your QTO values and so on. And when I talk with people, I always try to steer them, if I can, to configuring the output of the takeoff software to their needs, right? Rather than trying to connect to a third-party software, like Excel. I am a big believer, as everybody who listens to the show knows, of using as few software packages as possible. The fewer tech integrations you have to perform, the more consistent and error-free your results are going to be, no matter what you're dealing with. So, Rocco, have you seen this changing with our clients, or do we still have a lot of folks who think they just need a QTO tool that just saves them some time in measuring things by hand and then dump it into Excel?
No, it's definitely again, it's part of our daily conversations with folks. It's needed, right? I mean, you need to be accurate in your estimating and takeoff process, and so they want efficient, accurate ways of getting the job done.
Yeah, no doubt. So, look, folks, I'll sum it up like this and say, don't stay tied to a slow process because it's the one right? Talk to your software partner or whatever consultant you're working with and try to be open to the idea of building a better, faster, more accurate process from the ground up. A good consultant is going to show you how to get almost, exactly the final output that you have now, if that's what you want to maintain, but do it in a fraction of the time if you give them a chance to explain some of the options and alternatives to you. I cannot tell you how many times we run up against folks who have already determined the path they want to take before they even talk to us. And it's almost always a mistake. Right? As a consultant, I'm here to tell you, I am never trying to get you to buy more or pad out the costs. If I do that, you're just going to be pissed at me and never work with me again. All right? Give your consultant the chance to show you options. All right? And then they will get you the best results for the lowest cost every time. All right? If you come at your consultant with an attitude of, hey, don't tell me my business. I know what I want. Okay, I will do whatever work you ask me to. You're signing the checks, right? But your returns are going to be minimal. Give us a chance to help you before you shut us down, okay? That's enough of my diatribe here for today, though. So let's take a quick break, and we'll listen to today's sponsor, all right? And we'll be back in just a minute with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. Today's Cattle Call Podcast is being sponsored by both Rocco and I. Zentech, we want to talk to you guys about our Bluebeam Review Toolset Kickstart program. Look, you guys fight with trying to get reliable, repeatable quantity takeoff and markup items from your Bluebeam software, right? Are you guys frustrated having to go in and change and modify the display properties of every single item that you create inside a review? Well, that's what we're here to help you guys with the Kickstart program. We give you tools that you need built to your specifications at an affordable fixed cost. You can fully develop tool sets for any industry. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter what you do. We can help you work better with Bluebeam custom tools. So Rocco, why don't you tell folks how they get info on our Kickstart program?
Yeah, the big thing is it is like you said, Jim. It's one fixed price, so it's $29.95, and we can help you to prove to your management what.
Is it $29.95?
No, Jim, it's $2,995.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Oh, of course. So hit up our website, check out the details. We'd be happy to talk to you. It's zentechconsultants.net. Reach out to us, sales@zentechconsultants.net, or give us a ring, 866-824-4459.
All right, the Bluebeam Review Toolset Kickstart program. Everything you guys need to be Bluebeam experts. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast, where we're talking about construction estimating. And in this half of the podcast, I want to talk about some of the big name tools and what their pros and cons are. And I'll be fair up front and tell you that the one I give the best review to are the ones that we work with here at Zentech. And not because I am trying to push what we do, but because Rocco and I choose the systems that we work in because they give our clients the best results and outputs. The truth is, we've partnered with most of the major players, either here at Zentech or in our previous work lives. And we kind of have a pretty good vibe on what works well and what doesn't for our client base. So, Rocco, we've dropped partnership with a few construction estimating systems over the years. Was it because they didn't work well enough, or just that we found something better?
No, it's like you said. I mean, it's we just found that certain solutions work better for customers, and it's this is based upon our experience in working with customers and the feedback that we hear from them. It's not just us saying it because it's for our benefit, or because it's what we've just seen by our own individual experiences. It's a result of day-to-day conversations with people, and the feedback and issues that they run into, and there are certainly issues, right? I mean, we know
Yeah.
it not only with construction software, but with any kind of software that we use day in and day out. So,
If there wasn't, I
um,
wouldn't have a job.
yep.
That's what keeps me busy every day. And look, they just kind of follow up what Rocco was saying. We don't change software because we're getting more money, or anything. We get the same pretty crappy deal as partners and resellers from most software people anyway. So we just pick the ones that work best and focus on services for our clients. All right, so let's start here today with a system that I actually like a lot, and that we used to be partners for. We're not anymore, and that's PlanSwift. And this is actually, it's a great QTO system. And it works with TIFF images primarily, though you can work with PDFs. It just doesn't do it quite as well. And I think PlanSwift does an absolutely wonderful job of developing assemblies or groups of items, right, for takeoff at once. In other words, if you want to place a door, just drop a door in, but also get a count on the number of hinges and the knobs and how many screws it needs, along with their types and their sizes. PlanSwift, I think, really does that very, very well. I'll go so far as say at assembly level QTO, it does it better than just about any other system I've worked with. And PlanSwift it's a very easy tool to use. Though I do find its graphics interface is a little clunky and kind of early 2000s like, particularly since it's focused primarily around working with scanned files, TIFF images, and not PDFs. That was actually a major reason why I recommended that we move on from PlanSwift. We just kind of had fundamental differences on where we saw the construction industry's technology moving. I saw PDF as the tool of the future, and they fundamentally saw scanned graphics, right, of scanning the hard paper copies as the key. And I think the industry has shown that I won that argument. The other area that I was not thrilled with in PlanSwift was their estimating process, right? Their financial side. Pricing has to be manually added to those assembly groups, and it really was not intuitive or easy for updating that once it was done. And I also ran into output limitations that a lot of our clients found frustrating. Basically, you were kind of stuck with only their built-in data fields for reporting and output. You can format them and move them and change them around, but you really couldn't easily or effectively build your own data into that. So it wasn't really easily configurable for each client's needs. Rocco, what was the client feedback we got from folks using PlanSwift? I mean, did they like it, or were they looking for something a little more user-friendly?
Yeah, no, it for the reasons that you just outlined. It comes up often. I don't want to say every day or every week, but it comes up often where folks are using PlanSwift today, and they're looking for a better tool out there. I think PlanSwift has its own benefits, like you're outlining, but they're just looking for more. And a lot of people say that their whole interface, like you described, is kind of outdated. So I don't know what's down the pike for them, if they're working on a complete restructuring, but this is a conversation that we have often with PlanSwift users that look to migrate.
Yeah. And like I said, I like software. I think it's good for what it is, but it just had some limitations. That's all. So the next tool or really tools that I want to talk about, they're not really, they're more of like a group of tools, right, than individual software systems. And they're ERP, integrated quantity takeoff systems, for those big name packages like Sage and Viewpoint and Procore and others along those lines. and I have to say, as a group, I'm not a fan of any of these as QTO or estimating systems. Look, as ERP and project management tools, they are outstanding. All three of them, right? Viewpoint and Procore and Sage and some of the others are amazing. But the quantity takeoff stuff here is more of an afterthought. I'm a big believer in working with experts whenever you can, right? And these systems they don't fit that description. At best they're clunky to use, right? And they're really designed around it, and they do a much better job, I think, of hosting takeoffs that were developed by other software systems than they do generating their own takeoffs. And I think, in terms of like groups of stuff on the other end of that spectrum, it's a group of software takeoff systems that can be really useful in certain instances, but are too focused for most of us in the construction field. And these are the industry focused systems, right? Like, Stack and SD and others that work and are designed to work only for specific trades, like HVAC or plumbing or electrical, right? They're industry or trade specific takeoff systems, and I think these are great for small installers, right, who do one very specific function. But I think that for the rest of us, they're just not robust enough to use for general purpose conditions, or even to get a rough order of magnitude or overall quantities without getting seriously bogged down by the software into trade specific details. And listen, that is not in any way to say that there shouldn't be or you shouldn't use industry focused takeoff tools. Those are great to work with if you need them, but I think these systems in general should be able to handle more generic work across a broader spectrum of functions, and not just be the master of one single trade. Okay. Rocco, do you see a lot of people coming to us looking to get away from those focus systems that are either way too big in the ERPs or just too small and too focused in those trade takeoff packages?
It kind of depends. I find that a lot of larger firms are working with these types of products. So they're not looking to entirely get away from them, but they're looking to make better use of, in knowing that they have Bluebeam in their hands, they're looking to make better use of Bluebeam for certain specific tasks that we'll get into now, right? But so it's not a total removal of their environment, but just looking to simplify the process is a big part of what I see and what happens in our discussions.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. They're usually just, and like I said, the ERP systems and even those small focus systems, excuse me, they're very good for what they are, right? But they're just not in and of themselves enough. And you usually do need some kind of a dedicated, quantity takeoff and estimating system to integrate with those. And that's where, like Roger said, is a perfect segue here into my personal favorite that we work with and push to everybody in the construction QTA estimating world, is Bluebeam Review. And we work with it here at Zentech because it ticks all the boxes that we've already talked about on today's show in an affordable, easy to use, and very widely adopted system. It works entirely with PDFs, which I said I love, right? It has the ability to handle both, broad spectrum quantity takeoff and estimating features, right? Math and everything inside the software. It even has the ability to work with highly detailed industry trade-based tools, right? So, Bluebeam Review can handle almost anything that you can throw at it, right inside that software system without the need to send it out to Excel. Though I will point out that it does offer both output and real-time updating or pushing the quantity takeoff values directly into Excel if you really need that. I think, the level of customization and configuration that you can achieve with Review is absolutely amazing. We do just a ton of work in helping people develop their own internal estimating systems with Bluebeam, that respond and work exactly the way they need it to. and we do, we even develop and sell our own pre-configured tools here at Zentech for HVAC and structural work and site work and electrical work, right? With more on the way to help with those trade-specific takeoff functions. What I really like, I think, about Bluebeam is that we can maintain different profiles within the system to separate the QTO and the estimating process if you need to, using the same tools, which is really, really powerful, right? I can use the same tools, the same symbols, and just kind of load the data separately to get, if I need just QTO or if I need to add in the costing, all inside the software. I think if there is a negative to Bluebeam, I will say, and I've said this before on the show, that it's weak on the assembly level estimating, right? That stuff we were talking about for PlanSwift and the doors. It does that, but it does require manual interaction. That can be a little tedious, and I'm hoping that they will update it and get rid of that in future releases. And I think the other limit that frustrates me a little bit about Review is that it's not great about importing external data into Review, though it is actually fantastic about exporting data from Review. It kind of set up so that everything is kind of driven from Review outward, right, from the graphics that we're doing on the PDFs. That's kind of the source point, and everything else pushes outward from there. But like I said, importing data, it's not amazing with, which means that, pricing updates and similar changes they work well and they're pretty easy, but they do require a little bit more manual work than I would like to make those happen. Rocco, we talk about Bluebeam estimating a lot on this podcast, but I don't think I've ever asked you directly, what feature of Review seems to grab the most attention, I guess, from our construction clients?
Yeah, it's a takeoff and estimating tools, for sure, followed by the collaboration tools, and if you expand it more into the construction areas, then it's markups are huge. But if you're talking about construction alone, it's I think it's the estimating and takeoff capabilities for sure.
Yeah, now, like I said, just so you got one package that does so much, right? You can handle, like you said, estimating, markups, file collaboration, file sharing, document overlay, revision update. It's just so much in one system for a pretty affordable price. It's why so many people in the construction world use it. All right, so there you have it, folks, right? A quick overview of construction estimating tools and processes, and what you guys should be looking for and what you should be wary of when you're out there shopping for a better software system to make your estimating process faster and more profitable. All right, folks, we're out of here. We will catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.